I think home is something that we all hold dear, but also something that's very fragile. And we always feel that we're so safe with our feet on the ground, with our heads in the air and sort of like just doing our everyday thing. And what happens if that shatters or cracks? Where do we go? So my name is Joy Gregory. I'm an artist, and I think quite early on I decided I wanted to become a photographer or work with photography and understand the medium completely. I suppose with my practice of photography, I'm really interested in the materiality of it. So I like to play with its plasticity in terms of testing and experimenting with the chemistry. It's quite good to start to make work in different places. But this one really does look like flames, doesn't it?
It's sort of set light.
That was quite strange. So like you can see, sort of like recognise some of the leaves and vegetation in there. So what I was doing was covering the vegetation in Nivea and then putting it in the sun and then trying to get it off. What I should have done is put it through the press because I think that might have worked better. I also enjoy mixing up my own emulsions. So working with different Victorian printing processes and then moved on to doing calotype and then eventually onto cyanotypes, which it was such an incredible medium for me.
Yeah, so this one.
Yeah, this one's got all the little leaves and things inside. And it's a very particular sort of, it looks like a cyanotype blue, like very dark blue.
So it's got such like crispy.
And it's something I continue to do for like over 30 odd years. It's something you can do with workshops and it's so easy to do, and yet it can be really, really complex in many ways as well. And I'm always interested in stories, but particularly in stories that haven't been told or not seen as important. And I suppose that also goes back to my own experience growing up in a world where, you know, you felt that you're always on the periphery. And I suppose the only way those stories actually do get told is if you actually tell them yourselves or encourage people to tell their own stories. So that's something that's become a big focus within my work. People that come into the country for refuge and for asylum, and the way in which we look at that and how they are imagined in sort of like the nation's imagination is so far removed from the reality. So I became very curious about those stories. People who had to flee their homes and what that actually means and who those people were and how that impacts on just every day, you know, just the everyday of how you are and how you feel and what are the things that you really miss. I decided I really wanted to work with asylum seekers, and something I always do is sort of like try and run a workshop where nobody feels threatened. So nobody actually really knows how it works, and so everybody's learning something new, but it's also very straightforward, so everybody can actually teach each other as well. But it also creates a space where people can speak with each other, where I can actually also speak with them and sort of like start to unpick and listen. You know, asking people about their experiences, where they came from, but what was more important was asking them the things that they remembered from home in terms of food, what their favourite dishes were, but also what the favourite dishes of their mother or their father were. And I think that was the core of what the work became about. I chose to look at poetry because I think poetry is something that does connect us all through those words that we can all relate to, because it talks about feelings and it talks about things you hold close, but also living your imagination. And we did have this wonderful occasion where we went to meet with the Afghan women group. Everybody brings a dish in. And it was so fantastic because like they'd say, oh yeah, no, it's just a biryani, but like they would never describe all the spices and the herbs and all the things that made it really, really special. But it is that thing that as soon as you can taste things that are familiar, that remind you of where you've been, of the earth that you stood upon, the place that you called home, then that is the thing that really matters.